Our case, which has been well documented, began with Gary Couples reaching out to us after a pallet of bottled water was delivered to his front porch. And, as part of investigating the case, one of the things that we did was we conducted town hall meetings to find out what was going on in the community. Was this an isolated incident, or, was this something that was widespread? And we were blown away by what we experienced at those town hall meetings. In particular, the community came out in droves, and they, expressed their frustration. They were looking to DNREC for help. They weren't getting any. They were complaining to Mount Air. Mount Air wasn't changing anything that it did. These folks couldn't drink the water from their faucet. They were scared to bathe their children in their bathtubs. They couldn't open their windows on a nice summer day because of the air emissions. And we had no idea. I live nearby, not very far away from Millsboro, and I had no idea what was happening just below the surface. This is a great result. It's been, almost, it's been 3.5 years since we began the litigation. And today we reached the final approval of that aspect of the case, again, for $65 million in the state court side. At the same time that we were fighting with Mount Air on the class action aspect of the case to compensate the class members for their diminution in property value and their personal injuries, we were also fighting with DNREC and Mount Air in federal court. And the reason for that is because when this case first began, DNREC and Mount Air worked together and had come up with this, what we've been calling a sweetheart deal. It basically was an agreement where they were trying to resolve the problems at the plant. And we had to get involved in that because they were trying to put a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. And so we intervened in the federal court case and basically had to fight DNREC and Mount Air and force them to go from doing the bare minimum at the plant to completely overhauling their operations, forever changing their wastewater disposal practices, making it so that they are going to be environmentally compliant and environmentally responsible, complying with their permit and industry standards. So, it's a global settlement, historic sort of landmark settlement for $205 million, but it really comprises two parts. One is forever changing the problem to change the trajectory of the Millsboro community, and the second part is to compensate those folks that have been harmed. When you're in the throes of these types of things, we're trying to help the people. When you first start a case, you don't really know what that means. I mean, I'm a civil lawyer, so of course, on some level, that means compensating folks to, help them recover from the harm. That's sort of what a civil lawyer does. In this case, in addition to that, we also found that we had to fight the regulator in Delaware, DNREC, and Mount Air to make sure that we were fixing the problem as well. It's just one thing to sort of, compensate folks, which is very important. And it was very important, and it's a big aspect in this case. But it's a completely other part of it to force a company to stop what they're doing. So when it comes to other polluters, particularly those folks that are dealing with nitrates and nitrate contamination in groundwater, I hope this sends a message. It's the first case of its kind. We employed 26 experts in this case. We sort of invented the wheel when it comes to how to prosecute a case like this. And we hope it sends a message throughout the industry that if you are not environmentally compliant, if you're not environmentally responsible, if you're not being a good corporate neighbor to the folks that live around your plant and your operation, you can be held accountable. We had town hall meetings where we were, talking to people in the community to find out what was happening. I attended a town hall meeting that was conducted by Mount Air. And I was, it was early in the case, but I was shocked to see the legislators stand up one by one and defend Mount Air. I recognize that Mount Air is a big employer in the state of Delaware. From the outset, we said that our goal was not to put them out of business. Our goal was to hold them accountable and to bring them into compliance, to force them, frankly, into compliance, because no one had been able to do that. To have people stand up in a room and talk about, the fact that, nitrates have been historically high and they come from another source and that Mount Air has done nothing wrong. And they were saying that when their own data, their own monitoring, their own information that they had to report to DNREC and EPA proved what they were doing. It proved that they were contaminating the groundwater. It proved that they were emitting air in violation of the state exceedance levels. So, their own documents were proving this, and yet you had people standing up in the room, people that had been elected by the very people that were being harmed, who were saying, no, look somewhere else. Mount Air is not doing anything wrong here. Yeah, it was disgusting. And it put a pit in my stomach, and it made our team go to work. We were either really wrong and we didn't know what we were talking about on our side, and we were sort of barking up the wrong tree. I felt, because it was early enough in the case, we were still in our investigation at that point in time, and I thought to myself, wow, what are we getting into? And then the more I dug, and the more we figured out what was happening, and the fact that they knew what was happening, the lies, the deceit, misleading the public, they were looking directly at the people in that room that were suffering the most and telling them that it wasn't their fault when they knew that it was. This was a group effort by, 2 law firms, but in just talking about our law firm, the team that we assembled of lawyers, of paralegals, of assistants, the support that I got from my partners, going way out on a limb, and, we don't get paid by the hour in these cases. We only get paid if we win. And we invested, millions of dollars into this case with experts and our investigation and all of those things. And so I'm incredibly proud of our team, incredibly proud of how people capitalized on their strengths, and whether it was the legal writing or the oral advocacy or the organization or the communication, whatever it may be, I'm incredibly proud. And I'm happy that my firm believed in me and believed in our team to prosecute a case like this. And yeah, I hope it not only inspires, the other lawyers in our firm to do great things, but I hope it inspires, our entire firm, all the way down to, our runners and those types of folks to say, listen, I work for a law firm that is changing things, right? We have forever changed the trajectory of Millsboro, Delaware for decades to come. And I hope that the people that work at Behrman, Dallas, Brockstead recognize that and are proud of our efforts. I mean, my kids are 12 and 14, my daughters are 12 and 14, and so, they know that Dad's got a big case and that he's been working on it really, really hard, and it seems like it's taken forever. It's been 3.5 years of their lives. And, I know on some level, that we've done good and that we've worked really hard, and I'm sure they're proud of me. My wife has been incredibly supportive the entire time. She's lived this with me. I can't tell you how many times I've come home and vented to her or talked to her about it, or expressed frustration at what's going on and how the defense was handling this case or stuff like that. But yeah, I hope that my family, and I think that they are, my parents, and my in-laws and extended family, I hope that they're proud of what we've done here, because this isn't a personal injury case, right? This is a case that is going to change people's lives. This is a case that is going to change a community. This is a case that is going to have an effect on the environment for a long time to come.